What is up, home workout and bodyweight exercise fans? Today's Motivational Monday, and I'll be talking about biological discomfort. So what I mean by that, I'm talking about that inner friction you feel every time you want to get started, with new fitness lifestyle goals, or goals in general that lead you to long-term growth, health, improvement. So it's basically about choosing self-discipline and strength of character over immediate gratification, over surrendering to the easy and fast choice. And that's basically the constant inner fight we all face during most, or basically the whole of our lives. And a simple example would be choosing that healthy salad with a steak instead of choosing that huge cake. A simple example would be getting out of our warm beds early in the morning in order to exercise, instead of pushing through, instead of snoozing the alarm and not having time to exercise later, and just being lazy the rest of the day. So this is basically it's basically the way we're wired through hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. Because in the past, if you had like a really calorie dense food in front of you, you would choose that, instead of like having a carrot, for example, because you would never know when you would have abundance of food again in the near future. You'd never know when you might starve. So if you had a stomach that was filled up, if you had already eaten, you'd rather rest instead of go hunting again, instead of taking action. So it's basically the three urges, the three roots of inactivity, of procrastination, of laziness are shelter, food, and sex. When these needs are covered, that's when we're in the situation, in the position of least motivation to take action, nowadays, and do things that are required from us today to be healthy. So that's, for example, also a reason that people after their 30s give up so easily, because in a lot of situations at that age, you'll have some financial security, so you'll have a roof over your head, you'll have food, maybe you'll also have a long-term relationship. I see this even more with women. Once they're in a steady relationship, they more easily give up on themselves. And that's the reason so much of us struggle nowadays, to achieve our goals. Because when you've eaten the previous night and you have food in your belly, you're not starving, and it's early in the morning, and you have a warm shelter, a bed, and you have to get out of that bed to exercise, you won't have motivation to do that. So basically, you're fighting two main enemies when you want to change your life, when you want to head towards a more healthy lifestyle, and when you want to make positive change. You're fighting, first of all, yourself. So that's your inner biological baggage we have from thousands of years of evolution that's not helpful anymore, but we have it anyways. It's basically your mind creating an illusion that you can't escape this prison of your urges. And it's also your second enemy are people then, people who ally with these urges, people who accept this fate, this prison, this mental prison, and advocate it also. Because when people are with people that don't take action, that don't want to change, that are just slaves of this mentality, and they won't like being around people that want to change. So you will make them uncomfortable. People in your surroundings, it's very common that when you want to change, when you want to start exercising, friends will make fun of you, family will tell you that you're too thin, that you have to eat, even though you're like normal weight, because being overweight nowadays is so normal. And what is the solution, you know? So how do you start? Do you break these chains, you know? I'll give you three very important tips on how to get started on a better life, on how to not give in into these urges, you know, on how to not to be a victim of this mindset. Starting with tip number one, you basically first have to get rid of the people that are, you know, advocating this mindset, this mind prison. You know, people who don't want to change. I know this sounds harsh. I know that some people you won't be able to get rid of because maybe they'll be close family. Maybe there'll be, you know, it will be your current living situation that you won't be able to avoid these people, but you know, to get rid of them. But try to avoid as much as possible these people, and try to get rid all of the rest. Because in the end, you know, if you've tried to help people and they don't want to be helped, it doesn't make any sense for two people to drown in a lake, because, you know, just because one person is holding too tight on the other person. You know, if one can save himself, go at the shore and, you know, maybe even influence then other people, you know, because once you save yourself, it's easier to find people that will be open to you, you know, to your advice, to you being a role model, to you being a positive example, instead of being with people that, you know, will never see the value in what you're doing. So that's step number one, either getting rid of or avoiding as much as possible these people. Step number two is the biggest fight. It's the fight with you, basically. You have to fight these biological urges by yourself. And the way you do that is, first of all, understanding, you know, what's happening in your body. Understanding, that's why I've been talking for 7 minutes now and explaining to you what is all this that's happening in your body. So by understanding what's happening in you, you can empathize with yourself. You know, you'll understand that you're not a messed up, crazy person. You know, all that inner negative dialogue that, you know, you're not capable, you're a failure, that, you know, you're just such a, you know, bad person, or, you know, whatever might be going in your head, which is in most people's, which is happening in most people's heads, you know. It's not because you're crazy, it's just, you know, what's happening in your body is normal, is natural, and by empathizing and understanding, you can start being aware. You can start being aware of all these wheels and mechanisms turning in your body, you know, producing all these feelings, all these emotional states, all these urges. And once you are aware, you're in a state of control, you know. Of course, it's not that easy in the beginning, it takes time, but the more you're aware, the more you understand, the more you empathize with yourself, the more in power you are in order to make change. So once you're aware, you have to gradually start and starve these urges, you know. It's a mistake if you just start doing things extremely. A lot of people start, you know, and they're so super pumped, they want to change their diet, change their workouts, you know, like work out every day and eat extremely clean, and that always leads to failure. So habits have to be introduced in your lifestyle one by one. First, fix your diet, find a diet plan you can follow, for example, or first start exercising. Don't try to do too many things at the same time, but just take daily action and focus at introducing one habit at a time. Doing that will create the ideal situation for you to slowly, gradually starve these urges and at some point, you know, eliminate them as possible. Tip number three is learning to be flexible, learning to give in strategically once in a while, learning to adapt basically to extreme scenarios, you know, because there will be extreme there will be a lot of accumulation of stress some days, you know. You will go through some rough times, and, you know, it won't be as easy as always to be motivated to do things. So, you know, once in a while, it's okay to maybe skip a workout once a month, maybe mess up your diet once a month, but be smart about it, you know. So if you mess your diet, a lot of people, what they do is once, you know, they experience failure once, so maybe once Maybe you're doing awesome with your new habits for a month, and you kind of like mess up your diet one day. What people will do, what all of us have done, they'll feel that the next day, they've lost, because they lost the fight, they've lost the battle, which is not true. If you just messed up once, it's okay. You have to be aware of it, and you have to understand that it's normal, and the next day, get back on your goals, and also be smart about it. So if you screw your diet one day, you can be more physically active. So if you're trying to lose weight and you ate a huge meal, go and exercise more that day. Go and get more steps. Go get 10,000 extra steps, for example. So learn to counterbalance things. These are the 3 tips you need to apply in order to get started. If you just focus on everything I said today for a month, you'll see that change will be so much easier and so much consistent in comparison with other times that you failed to accomplishing goals because you did one of the mistakes we mentioned in this video. So that was all. I'd like to also hear your tips, your mental tools, everything you do to achieve your goals. Leave a comment below, and I'll next time keep on training.